Video essay, Arabization and the Identity of North Africa. Recognizing a distinct ethnicity. Welcome to this exploration of Arabization in North Africa, focusing particularly on Algeria. The concept of Arabization has not only shaped linguistic landscapes but has also deeply influenced cultural identities across the region. This essay seeks to unravel the complexities of Arabization and advocate for the recognition of North African ethnicity, distinct from their Arab counterparts. Throughout history, North Africa has been a melting pot of cultures, traditions, and identities. However, with the rise of Arabization, there has been a significant push to homogenize this diversity into a singular Arab identity. This push often neglects the rich cultural tapestry of Berber Amazigh people, who have lived in these lands long before Arab influence. Why does this matter? The struggle for identity in North Africa is not just a local issue, but resonates with global themes of indigenous rights and cultural preservation. Across the world, marginalized groups are fighting to reclaim their narratives and identities from dominant cultures. In this video essay, we will draw parallels between the North African experience and other indigenous struggles globally, highlighting shared challenges and resilience in the face of cultural erasure. To understand the impact of Arabization, we must first look at its historical roots. The story begins with the early Islamic conquests in the 7th century, which introduced the Arabic language and culture to North Africa. This initial interaction laid the groundwork for a complex relationship between Arab and Berber identities. After centuries of coexistence, the colonial era further complicated this relationship. French colonization of Algeria from the 19th century until independence in 1962 created deep societal divisions, often pitting Arab and Berber populations against each other. The colonial regime utilized a divide-and-conquer strategy, reinforcing stereotypes and tensions that would echo long after independence. Following Algeria's liberation from French rule, the new government sought to forge a national identity, often favoring Arabic over Berber languages. Arabization policies emerged, aiming to unify the country under a singular Arab identity. This involved implementing Arabic as the official language in education, administration, and media, effectively sidelining Berber languages and traditions. The implications of these policies are profound. They have led to the marginalization of Berber culture, creating an identity crisis where many Berbers feel pressured to assimilate into an Arab identity that does not reflect their heritage. This historical backdrop is crucial for understanding the current struggles for recognition and rights among Berber populations in Algeria and beyond. To fully grasp the dynamics of Arabization and its effects on North African identity, we must engage with several theoretical frameworks that illuminate the nuances of cultural identity, hegemony, and resistance. Orientalism by Edward Said. First, we consider Edward Said's groundbreaking work, Orientalism. Said argues that Western societies have historically constructed a distorted image of Eastern cultures, portraying them as exotic, primitive, and inferior. This framework is critical for understanding how Arabization not only reflects internal dynamics, but is also influenced by external perceptions. In the context of North Africa, this means that Arab culture has often been valorized at the expense of Berber identity. The Orientalist lens contributes to a narrative that positions Arabs as the civilizers of a backward Berber population, reinforcing stereotypes and legitimizing policies of cultural assimilation. This perspective is essential for examining how external influences can exacerbate internal identity conflicts. Cultural Hegemony by Antonio Gramsci. Next, we turn to Antonio Gramsci's concept of cultural hegemony. Gramsci explains that dominant cultures establish norms and values that subordinate others, making them seem less valid or desirable. In North Africa, the push for Arabization can be viewed as a form of cultural hegemony, wherein Arabic language and culture are framed as the norm, and anything else, specifically Berber identities, are marginalized. This dominance is not just enforced through coercion, but through social acceptance. Schools and media prioritize Arabic, leading many to internalize the belief that their Berber heritage is inferior or outdated. Understanding this dynamic is crucial to analyzing the ongoing cultural struggle for Berber communities as they seek to reclaim their identities within a hegemonic Arab framework. Hybridity by Homi Bhabha. Another important framework is Homi Bhabha's notion of hybridity. Bhabha describes hybridity as a product of cultural interaction, where elements of different cultures blend to create something new. In North Africa, the Arabization process has resulted in a complex cultural landscape where Arab and Berber identities coexist in a state of tension. While some Berbers may feel pressured to adopt an Arab identity, many also draw from both heritages, creating unique cultural expressions that reflect this blending. Hybridity allows for the possibility of resistance, as Berber communities can assert their identity in ways that challenge the dominant narrative, affirming their distinctiveness within the broader North African context. Internal Colonization by Frantz Fanon. In addition to these frameworks, Frantz Fanon's discussions on internal colonization offer valuable insights into the psychological impact of cultural dominance. Fanon argues that colonization not only exploits land, but also deeply affects the identities of those colonized. Arabization can be understood as a form of internal colonization, where Berber identities are systematically undermined, leading to an identity crisis. This psychological struggle is profound. Many Berbers experience a disconnect between their cultural heritage and the imposed Arab identity. Fanon's work sheds light on the internalized oppression that results from this cultural conflict, emphasizing the need for reclamation of identity and self-worth among Berber populations. The policies of Arabization have had profound and far-reaching effects on the Berber population in North Africa, particularly in Algeria. These impacts manifest across various dimensions of daily life, influencing language, education, self-perception, and cultural heritage. Language and education. One of the most significant impacts of Arabization is the marginalization of Berber languages, such as Amazigh, with Arabic being established as the sole official language. Education systems primarily focus on teaching in Arabic, leaving Berber students at a disadvantage. For many, this creates a linguistic barrier that not only hinders academic achievement, but also disconnects them from their cultural roots. This language suppression fosters a sense of alienation among young Berbers, as they navigate an educational landscape that undervalues their heritage. Efforts to revitalize Berber languages often face systemic obstacles, as educational materials and support are primarily geared toward Arabic. As a result, the younger generation may grow up speaking Arabic fluently, while feeling estranged from their mother tongue, leading to a gradual erosion of cultural identity, self-perception, and internalized oppression. The societal pressure to conform to an Arab identity can lead to internalized oppression among Berber populations. Drawing from Frantz Fanon's theories, many Berbers may begin to see their cultural practices, languages, and traditions as inferior or irrelevant. This self-perception creates a cycle of shame and denial, where individuals feel compelled to suppress their heritage in favor of an imposed identity that they believe is more accepted or respected. The psychological ramifications are significant. Internalized oppression can lead to a diminished sense of self-worth and community cohesion. As individuals grapple with conflicting identities, many may struggle with feelings of guilt for embracing their Berber heritage, while simultaneously facing societal pressures to align with Arab culture. Impact on traditions and heritage. The Arabization process has also led to a tangible decline in traditional Berber practices, crafts, and celebrations. Many cultural expressions, from music and dance to storytelling and festivals, have been relegated to the margins or perceived as less relevant in a society that prioritizes Arabic culture. As young people become increasingly immersed in Arab-centric narratives, they may feel disconnected from their cultural heritage, resulting in diminished participation in traditional practices. Efforts to revitalize and promote Berber culture often encounter resistance from broader societal structures that favor an Arab narrative. While there are movements advocating for the recognition and celebration of Berber culture, these efforts frequently struggle against deep-seated perceptions and institutional barriers, resistance and resilience. Despite the challenges posed by Arabization, Berber communities continue to resist and assert their cultural identity. Activism, advocating for the recognition of Berber rights, language, and culture has gained momentum in recent years, highlighting the resilience of these communities. Protests, cultural festivals, and artistic expressions serve as powerful tools for reclaiming identity and fostering pride in their heritage. This resilience is evident in the revitalization of Berber languages, with increasing numbers of young people learning Amazigh and participating in cultural events. Movements calling for the inclusion of Berber history in national narratives reflect a growing awareness and desire for cultural recognition. In recent years, the push for recognition of Berber identity in North Africa has gained momentum, driven by a new generation of activists, scholars, and cultural advocates. These movements aim to challenge the long-standing narratives of Arabization and advocate for the Arabization of North Africans as a distinct ethnic group. Emergence of Berber activism. The rise of Berber activism can be traced back to the late 20th century, marked by significant events such as the Kabylie riots in 1980. This pivotal moment saw students and activists protesting for the recognition of the Berber language and culture, demanding that it be included in the national curriculum and official discourse. The protests were met with repression, but they also ignited a broader awareness of Berber rights and identity. Since then, various organizations and movements have emerged, advocating for cultural preservation, linguistic rights, and political representation. Groups like the Rassemblement pour la Culture (ETLARCD) in Algeria and the Amazigh cultural movement have played pivotal roles in these efforts, working to raise awareness about the Berber plight and push for policy changes, language and cultural recognition. One of the primary demands of Berber activists is the recognition of Tamazight as an official language alongside Arabic. In 2016, the Algerian constitution was amended to recognize Tamazight as a national language, marking a significant victory for Berber advocacy. However, many argue that this recognition must be backed by practical implementation, including educational resources, media representation, and government support for Berber cultural initiatives. The push for language rights is not merely a linguistic issue. It is deeply intertwined with cultural identity and heritage. By advocating for the revitalization of Tamazight, activists aim to empower future generations to embrace their Berber roots and challenge the narrative of cultural erasure perpetuated by Arabization, intersectionality and solidarity with other movements. Berber movements for recognition and rights are not isolated. They resonate with indigenous and minority rights movements worldwide. There are significant parallels between the struggles of Berbers and other marginalized groups, including indigenous peoples in the Americas, Australia, and beyond. These intersections highlight shared themes of cultural preservation, self-determination, and resistance against dominant narratives. Collaborative efforts among various indigenous and minority rights organizations can amplify voices, foster solidarity, and create a united front against cultural erasure and discrimination. Challenges ahead. Despite the progress made, Berber activism faces numerous challenges. Government resistance, societal stigma, and entrenched stereotypes continue to impede efforts for recognition and cultural revitalization. Activists often confront backlash from nationalist groups that perceive the promotion of Berber identity as a threat to national unity. Additionally, the broader geopolitical context marked by economic instability and political repression complicates the landscape for activism. In the face of these challenges, Berber communities remain committed to their struggle for recognition, working tirelessly to assert their identity in a region shaped by centuries of cultural and political conflict. A vision for the future. The path forward requires a multifaceted approach. This includes advocating for policy changes that protect Berber language and culture, promoting educational initiatives that celebrate Berber heritage, and fostering inter-community dialogue to build understanding and solidarity. As North Africans navigate their identities in a globalized world, the recognition of their distinctiveness is crucial. Acknowledging the rich cultural tapestry of North Africa not only honors Berber heritage, but also contributes to a more inclusive and nuanced understanding of the region's history. As we conclude this exploration of Arabization and its impact on the identity of North Africa, particularly in Algeria, it becomes clear that the struggles of Berber communities are not just about language or culture. They are about identity, agency, and the fundamental right to be recognized as distinct and unique. The journey for recognition as a North African ethnicity distinct from Arab identity reflects broader global challenges faced by marginalized and indigenous groups who seek to preserve their heritage amidst pressures to assimilate. Arabization in North Africa has imposed a singular narrative, one that often negates the existence of diverse cultural identities. This has led to an erosion of traditional languages, customs, and histories that have deep roots in the region. But despite these pressures, Berber communities continue to resist, finding strength in their shared heritage and unity in their collective struggle. Their resilience is a testament to the enduring power of cultural identity and its ability to foster solidarity, pride, and a sense of belonging. The importance of recognizing North Africans as a distinct ethnicity extends beyond symbolic acknowledgement. It is essential for preserving cultural diversity and fostering mutual respect within society. This recognition is a step towards building an inclusive world where diverse identities are celebrated rather than erased.